everyone, I'm Cheryl Butler, and you're listening to the Mighty Mommy's Quick and Dirty Tips podcast, which will help make your life as a parent a little bit easier and a lot more fun. Welcome. Today's episode is number 559, Strategies to Soothe Your Child's Anger Meltdown, because anger is a common way that kids, young and old, react when they're facing an emotional setback. So having some tools in your parenting toolbox will help soften these tense moments. Here's the quick and dirty of today's episode, and 7 tips to keep in mind when you're trying to help your child through an angry outburst. 1. Keep your own emotions in check and resist lashing out. 2. Acknowledge and validate your child's feelings. 3. Look for a physical trigger like tiredness or hunger. 4. Help your child label their feelings. Sometimes anger masks the real culprit. 5. Encourage counting. It often works. 6. Create a soothing safe zone instead of a timeout space. And 7. Find a coping tool that your child can relate to. Listen, no parent wants to experience their child's angry meltdown. Not only is it challenging to witness the fury unfolding, but you know that the moment is even more difficult for your child. You may feel helpless or frustrated by fits of rage, but with the right tools, you can teach your child to regain control and manage anger in healthy ways. Sooner or later, every child has an anger meltdown. I'll never forget the first time one of my kids completely lost his cool. We were at Grandma's house for a fun afternoon of fishing on the pond. Everything was picture perfect. The weather, the new fishing gear, the delicious picnic lunch packed with my little guy's favorite treats. The moment we arrived, my 4-year-old took one look at the rowboat and the bucket of bait and totally lost it. In front of my in-laws, Not certain what had set him off, I felt helpless as I watched his body stiffen and his face redden. Then he launched into a tirade about having to be at his grandparents' with the stupid fish. Have you ever been in a similar boat? No pun intended. Observing your sweet child's volcanic eruption is unsettling, but how you react can make all the difference in how he recovers and moves forward after he explodes. Instead of blasting back in a rage of your own, implement one of these strategies to diffuse the tension and bring some cool back to your fired-up child. First, keep your own emotions in check. During the fishing incident, my first instinct was to get angry myself and demand an explanation for my son's ungrateful behavior. He was only 4 at the time, but his outburst was so unexpected, it both surprised and frustrated me to see him behaving that way. Fortunately, I didn't respond in a volatile way. Wouldn't want to behave like that in front of the in-laws. I was able to keep my composure and stay calm. And that's one of the essential keys to handling an angry child. In 10 tips to help your child with anger, clinical psychologist and parenting expert Dr. Laura Markham reminds parents this: your anger will only make the storm worse. Your job is to restore calm because kids only learn and understand how to do better when they're calm. Next, acknowledge and validate. When I'm struggling with a challenge at work or home, I want to have my feelings validated. Regardless of whether a coworker or my partner can solve the problem, I want the situation and my emotional state acknowledged, not ignored. Hey, we all crave validation. You know, kids are no different. They need and deserve to have their emotions recognized. Anger is a way to express an emotion of hurt and pain. In the case of my son's angry outburst, I reached out and recognized how he was feeling. My script sounded a bit like this: I see you're really upset right now. You don't want to spend the afternoon fishing at Grandma's. We're going to give you a few minutes to cool down, and then we can talk about it. The key is to make your child feel heard and understood. This approach tells him that you're not discounting the issue and you want to help him after he's regained composure. Next, ask yourself whether there's a physical trigger. Another factor to keep in mind is whether something physical could be going on. Has it been a while since your child's eaten? Is she cranky from not sleeping well? Is she cold or tired and uncomfortable from playing outside too long? Tune into possible physical triggers. Being overly tired, overstimulated, physically uncomfortable, or hungry can easily set a child off. She may not know why she's reacting this way, but as an observer, you can look for the clues. Now, help your child label their feelings. When your kid storms into the house, slams his backpack on the floor, and glares daggers at you before stalking off and slamming his bedroom door, you have to wonder, what the heck happened at school that day? Is geometry really that bad? Were soccer tryouts a total disaster? Maybe sending egg salad in his lunch wasn't a good idea after all. Some kids are just more sensitive than others and can harbor feelings, good and bad, longer than others. That's how they process their emotions and react to daily life. Sensitive types can fall apart at the drop of a hat over something as trivial as your tone of voice or a peer looking at them funny. When they react, it may come across as an angry meltdown, even though it's not anger that they're feeling. What's up with that? Mark Brackett, PhD, and author of Permission to Feel, joined me for a candid discussion in my episode, How Emotional Intelligence Can Help Your Child Thrive. He was honest in sharing that he wrote his book because he had a difficult childhood. I realized as an adult that I didn't have permission to have my feelings. I didn't know how to label my feelings, and I didn't have anyone that I really trusted to talk about my feelings, said Mark Brackett. He quickly added, though, that he had good parents who loved him, but the message he received as a kid was not to discuss his feelings because it would upset them. Brackett developed a tool known as RULER. RULER is an acronym that teaches the skills of emotional intelligence, those associated with recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating emotion. He advocates for parents to teach kids to appropriately label their feelings. Here's an example. Brackett noted that kids today feel stressed because they're overscheduled both in and out of school. Factor in the impact of social media, and there's no escaping the daily pressure. Everyone touts their victories on Facebook and Instagram, so kids notice how well their peers seem to be doing. This makes them feel envious and inadequate. Brackett points out that kids are usually unsure of how to label these feelings, so instead they react in anger because that's a feeling they understand. By teaching our kids to identify their emotions, we can help them become emotion scientists. Now they'll be able to express the real culprit, loneliness, frustration, incompetence, jealousy, and intimidation, to name a few, rather than relying on anger as a mask. Another way that you can help your angry child is to encourage counting, not calming. Think about the last time you were upset. Did you raise your voice, stiffen and get tense? If you're like me, your face quickly gets red. There's one thing many of us have in common when we're in the throes of rage. We don't want to hear the words, calm down. As mentioned in my first tip, angry people want to be acknowledged, not ignored. Once you've validated your child's feelings, suggest a coping mechanism rather than telling her she shouldn't feel angry. Counting is a great tool for young and old alike. One age-old strategy is counting to 10. Stepping back from the situation and counting to 10 can help us keep or regain our cool. In fact, a 2015 study in the Journal of Applied Social Psychology showed that participants who delayed their angry reactions made less aggressive choices, particularly if getting angry would have negative consequences. You can also make counting into a game. For younger kids, you can play the candy counting game. Teach your child to name 20 candies as a way of distracting them and giving them time to cool off. So 1 is for Skittles, 2 is for licorice, 3 is for bubblegum, etc. By the time they reach 20, hopefully the angry storm will have passed and you can help them regroup in a calm, positive way. Next, create a safe zone. Most are familiar with the timeout disciplinary method. The child is removed from the situation and placed in a designated timeout area so he can think about what he's doing wrong and come back with a better attitude. Well, a safe zone is similar, but the intention is to soothe, not punish. A safe zone is a comfortable place where a child can go to feel safe and secure. It can be something like a quiet nook in your home with a blanket and some books or a favorite stuffed animal. The point is to choose an environment that will have a calming effect while your child is upset. I even have a safe zone. My writing alcove in my bedroom offers instant respite when I need to quiet my nerves. And finally, find a coping tool that your child relates to. The irate reaction my son had to the fishing experience was one of many throughout his childhood and tween years. He was extremely shy and introverted, and he would often lash out when he wasn't comfortable in a social situation. We spent years developing coping strategies to help him manage his feelings. One of the most helpful coping tools was recommended by our pediatrician. The pediatrician suggested that we help our son keep his anger in check by using something he could relate with. He loved playing with trucks and cars, and he'd create elaborate scenarios driving them through pretend villages and down highways. He even gave the scenes their own soundscapes, making noises like beeping and the growl of vehicles racing down the road. Well, when cars have to stop, they slow down and put on their brakes. We taught our son to use this as a tool when he was feeling overwhelmed or angry. When he didn't feel he had control over his feelings, we'd remind him to act like a car. Slow down and put on the brakes. It took some practice, but eventually he could do it by himself. Believe it or not, he still uses that technique now in his 20s. What are some effective strategies you use when your child can't contain his anger? Share your thoughts in the comments section at quickanddirtytips.com/mighty-mommy, or you can visit me on the Mighty Mommy Facebook page or Twitter. You can also email me at mommy@quickanddirtytips.com. Now, before I leave you, I wanted to share a quick preview of what's coming up next week. A topic I'm super passionate about, pregnancy nesting. One of the biggest perks of pregnancy comes towards the end, besides delivering your beautiful baby, the nesting phase. This urge to clean and organize is known as nesting, and if you plan ahead, you can take advantage of this incredible stage and get your home all cozy and in top-notch shape before your bundle of joy arrives. So next week's podcast will address some terrific ways that you can make pregnancy nesting really work for you. So I hope you'll subscribe to the Mighty Mommy podcast through your favorite platform so you'll be notified when this episode is available. As always, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, happy parenting.